Hello, and thank you so much for joining us. My name is MG Govia. I'm the Education and Outreach Liaison for OK11. I am glad you joined us today. We're doing a webinar over the markings, what you'll see out in the field when locates are completed by the locators. So we'll go over that here in just a moment. If today is your first time joining us for a webinar through this interface, just remember that big orange arrow is pretty much everything. If you lose your interface, click the orange arrow, it opens it or minimizes it. I am flying solo today, so if you have any questions, just you can submit those through the questions and I'll answer those at the end. This is a pretty specific topic, so it shouldn't take us long. We'll be done easily before 2:30, probably about 15 to 20 minutes would be more realistic. So let's dive into it. First of all, if you're not aware, OK811 has been around since 1982. That's when the law, the Oklahoma Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act, went into effect. And that law is centered around two things, right? It starts with our facility operators, the owners, and those who operate underground facilities registering their assets with us, both geographically and also with what personnel to notify when digging is going to take place near those underground assets. For that to work, we need those notifications or the request to be put in by the excavators. Those who are doing work in Oklahoma needs to notify OK811 at least 3 business days prior to any excavation taking place. The process, how it works, it begins with that initial contacting OK811 at least 3 business days prior to any excavation work. You're going to use the website. That's where over 75% of our locates come from, or you can make a phone call to us. If you do need to make a phone call to us, it's Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Otherwise, the website is available for you 24/7. The information that is received by OK1 is then processed. We're going to map out the dig site where the work is going to take place, and then provide a ticket number back to the excavator to let them know that that has been requested. And then we're going to send those requests out to the member companies. A member company is a facility operator or owner who receives these requests to go and mark those lines. An average of 6 members are notified per ticket. So what that means, for instance, is last year we did 1.2 million tickets inbound. Over 7 million went out to our member companies to let them know about what was going on. So lots of process or notifications are being sent out, but then what happens after that is that member company is required to respond to that prior to the work to begin, date and time. They're going to mark the approximate location of the underground facilities using the APWA Color Code. That means they're going to use the correct colors with paint, flags, or stakes to show where the approximate location of the underground facility is. And then they'll need to communicate with the excavator via the mandatory positive response. That positive response is going to be with the ticket to show what the status of that locate is, whether it's all clear, that there's paint and flies on the ground, if there's any access issues or anything along those lines. That will all be available by just punching in the ticket number, looking it up, and then seeing what the status is. Once the work to begin date and time has come, the excavator needs to first confirm all the markings before doing any digging. Just verify positive response was received by all the companies that were on the ticket, and then discover the 3Ds, the depth, the direction, and distance of underground facilities that are in the work area. A couple things to keep in mind about the process. Private lines will not be marked. Private line, the easy ones are like propane, sprinklers, things like that. The ones that sometimes trip people up are the ones where a utility turns over a line over to the property owner. And that would be anything past the meter, such as additional electric runs, gas runs, water, whatever the case may be, to additional buildings, the pool, the outdoor kitchen, all those things. Anything that where the facility operator no longer owns or maintains it. If they don't own or maintain a line, they're not required by law to mark that line. It's the property's the property owner's responsibility to protect those underground lines. And then also, OK811 is not the locating company. We are a notification center. We're the communication hub of the process, right? Excavators call in or submit their locate requests. We then put those outbound back to the member companies, and those member companies are responsible for having those lines located. They may do that with their in-house employees, or they may hire a third party to have those lines located. But either way, OK811 is not the locating company. We're just the notification center. So some people ask, how does this work? What does it look like? And then I have a illustration on the next slide of what that mapping and how the registration works. So it starts with a our base layer map. Base means that it's the streets, roads, everything you normally see on Google, right? Just you know where the nearest McDonald's is. You also know where I-35 is. So you're looking at a map, and what happens is our member companies will register their assets with us. So they'll provide to us what's called center line data, and then we put a buffer around that, depending on what they ask, and then we'll put that buffer on there. For this one, on the pipeline, we put a 500-foot buffer. Then for that well site, where center point data, we put another 500-foot buffer. And then some companies may not trust their mapping, and so they'll provide to us what's called quarter sections. Quarter section is a legal description, half mile by half mile square, and because of the size of that, we do not add any additional buffer. So in this area, hypothetically, there's 3 companies in this area that may receive locate requests when digging is taking place near them. A excavator may call in, provide to us where they're going to be working, and then we will provide a dig site polygon. That dig site polygon represents where that work is going to take place. And then there's another buffer that's added to that of 150 feet. At 150 feet, it's just to be there just to make sure that we're trying to capture anything that may be in the area where the excavator may be working, just to compensate for any distance or maybe any confusion that may occur over the phone. So in this case, that dig site polygon is drawn. The additional 150-foot buffer is put onto that. And so anything that polygon and buffer overlapped would receive a locate request. So in this case, the pipeline and the company that registered by quarter sessions would receive a locate request, while that well would not receive a locate request in this example. A couple things to keep in mind on this. Our contact center representatives or damage prevention agents, they do not know or see the mapping of the service area mapping or where the assets are registered. All they're doing is working with the same base layer that you see when you're looking at Google. They're drawing a dig site polygon based on where work is taking place with no references to knowing where any assets are located. We're just drawing based on work taking place. The other things are hidden from damage prevention agents. That isn't necessary to know. We're only concerned with where work is taking place. So now the request has been made. The locate request goes out to the member company, and the member company is going to start responding to it prior to the work to begin date and time, and provide markings to mark that approximate horizontal location of those underground facilities. A couple things to keep in mind is, first of all, it's not an exact science. There's a reason that they're given a 2-foot leeway either side of the markings, is because it's not exact. So the 4-foot path will get you in the general area of where the underground facility should be. Because of it not being exact, no heavy equipment should be used to try to discover the underground facilities. Bad things could happen, damages could occur if you are obviously finding it manually like that. So you want to use soft digging, such as hydrovacking or something along those lines, or just hand tools, so that hopefully no damages occur while you're discovering the exact location of them. And then once you do find them, then you'll want to expose, support, and protect them throughout your project. So when you see those markings, if you're not familiar with the APWA uniform color codes, This is all over our website, ok11.org. Excavator guides, color code cards. We have plenty of references for you, but just a refresher for you if you want to play along. We're going to go through the colors real quick and just remind you of what they mean. So white is going to be proposed excavation. It's in the best interest of the excavator to go out prior to the locate request being marked and show where the work is going to actually take place. So they can mark where the trees being planted, where fencing is going to take place, or pipeline construction, or any other type of excavation. We want to be able to show the locators where that work's going to be taking place so they can be efficient when they can make it out to the work site. Pink is used by engineering or design. It is temporary. It's to show or to help them out in the design phase. So these two are from the pre-excavation side of things. It's not to show where utilities are, but it's to show where work is going to take place. And then from here on out, our utilities will take over. So if you see red, that's going to be for the electric utilities that are underground. Yellow is going to be oil and gas. Orange is telecom. And then blue is going to be water. Green is going to be sewer. And then purple is going to be irrigation. So there are 6 utilities that are represented, or 6 utility types, or 6 facility types that are used with APWA that are going to be everywhere when working in an excavation area. So be able to look for those, you know exactly what's below, and you can work around those markings safely. Because, like I said earlier, with it not being an exact science, there is a 4-foot path or 24 inches either side. So in this example, as you're digging down from their approximate location, you should be able to find that underground facility within that 4-foot path. When markings are on the ground, these are the things that you would be looking for. For a single facility, this is a water facility because of the color blue. You can see that it shows the direction that it is running, and a pretty constant line is going to be painted on the ground. Next is going to be a 2-phase primary for electrical power lines. When there is a change of direction, it should be obvious and apparent. So in this case, you'll see the direction and which way it's going, and that is within 2 feet of where that bend or change of direction takes place. This is the telecom conduit. Though notice the diamond shapes within the lines. Just a reminder on this one, the 2 feet either side does begin from the outside sections of the lines, not from the middle. So as you're digging out, you should start from the outside and work in anyway. But because of the width of this, you would be starting further out as you're starting to dig back in. So the next one is going to be our electrical conduit. And electrical conduits are just 3 in width. Still the same use of arrows and lines. For gas, when there's a lateral connection to a smaller diameter, you should notice that by a T showing where that lateral splits off, and then the new diameter would be drawn out. In this case, a 6-inch diameter is the lateral coming off of that. When things are all clear, you should see a no conflict. So in this case, this is an electric company that is all clear in the area. Because of telecommunications often having overlapping service areas, they need to show which company is which. So here in Oklahoma City, for example, Cox and AT&T are both throughout the metro, and so you would need to differentiate. This orange is for AT&T, and this orange is for Cox Communication. And then gas or natural gas is similar to electric. There's very, very small areas of overlap of service areas, so you may not need to see the differentiate from each company. One thing to keep in mind, there's a leeway or a approximate location when it comes to locating the underground facility, but when it comes to actually excavating around that underground facility. We want to make sure that we are being safe and digging safely around it and not using any mechanized equipment within 2 feet either side of the outside wall or edge of an underground line or pipe. In this illustration, you can see the yellow paint and flags. That's because it's natural gas in this example. And then as you dig down in that 4-foot path, you'll find the underground pipe. In this case, that pipe may be a foot in diameter. And so within that 5-foot path, there should be no heavy equipment used until that pipeline is completely exposed, protected, and supported. One thing to keep in mind around pipeline specifically is although 2 feet is the minimum that is stated within the Oklahoma Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act, pipeline companies may require greater distances or to be on site when work is taking place within 10 feet of a pipe or 25 feet of a pipe, but they'll communicate that with you through their positive response. So I said at the beginning of this webinar, this is going to be a pretty quick one because of the topic being so short and specific, excuse me. If you have any questions, now's the time to throw those in there. I'm going to kind of recap the 5 steps for safe excavation just to kind of refresh your mind on this and also give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. So when it comes to the 5 steps, it starts with contacting OKA 811. You're going to let us know at least 3 business days before, and you can go to our website or call us. Step 2 is going to be waiting the required time. The work to begin date and time is going to be on the ticket. It's going to be a minimum of 48 hours, not including the date of notification, weekends or holidays, but you could put in a locate request up to 14 days in advance. Number 3, you'll want to confirm the response from all utility operators. You'll want to make sure you're checking the mandatory positive response. And then once you are on site, you'll do number 4, which is respecting the marks. If you do not see a response from a member company, which is either through the mandatory or positive response, or if you don't see paint or flags on the ground, or you're trying to confirm and you're not being able to find it, please contact OKA 811 for a second notice so we can reach out to that company and make sure that we get that information back and forth for you. Number 4, again, respecting those markings, making sure that you are finding and verifying what's underground and being able to work around that safely. And then by digging safely, you're going to respect the tolerance zone, use hand tools within that area, and make sure you're soft digging until it is exposed, supported, and protected. If damages should occur, please do not cover it up. You may think that nick or dent or gouge isn't much today, but when you throw on a few tons of dirt on top of it, it could make the problem even worse. Do not try to repair, do not operate any of the valves. Contact OKA 811 so that we can help facilitate notification back to the operator so that we can make sure that repair is handled correctly. Okay. One thing I do want to point out to our attendees today is next week we are doing our safety day up in Tulsa. If you haven't already registered, please join us. It looks like we have over 100 registered currently for Tulsa Safety Day. It's going to be at Tulsa Tech. It's a full day of training. We're going to do A11 certification. Oklahoma Corporation Commission is going to be joining us to share what they're doing on the enforcement of the Oklahoma Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act, as well as we're going to have safety training for excavation and trenching safety, as well as confined spaces. Free lunch. We're also going to have door prizes and some information sharing, and a great opportunity for you to network with other companies in the Tulsa area. Again, that's going to be on Wednesday, August 9th up at Tulsa Tech. If you haven't already registered, please do so. You can go to okexcavationsafety.com. See the information there. If you register before this Friday, I can assure you that we'll have plenty of food for you. Registration ends this Friday at midnight. So it doesn't look like anybody's throwing any questions at me, which is awesome. It means that hopefully everybody knows what the markings mean every time they go out to the field. If you do think of any questions or anything comes up, just email me. If you don't already, follow us with, be sure to share Be sure to follow us up with our podcast, our YouTube channel, or our website. There's plenty of information there. And then, of course, you can always email me if you think of any questions or any suggestions. My email address is easy. It's the word education at okie811.org. And you can reach out to me if you have any questions for future presentations, some hypotheticals if you have any questions regarding the law, or if you have issues out in the field. We'll be happy to help communicate with the best practices and make sure everybody's on the same page. Or if you just have any requests for additional training. So it looks like we knocked that out in about 20 minutes, but if you do think of anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be happy to help out with anything that may come up. I appreciate your attention today. I also thank you for doing everything you do to keep Oklahoma safe. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you at the next webinar Wednesday. Thank you all.